Hello, everyone. Dr. Eames here. This time I'd like to talk to you about assignment 6 on vertical integration and give you some background so you'll do a little better on this. Like it says here, the activity is meant to promote critical thinking regarding what is a routine business activity and what is actually forward vertical integration and backward vertical integration within some sort of business setting. So I've set up a scenario here and some statements for you to make that determination. The business context here is Acme Petroleum Corporation, and their primary business activity is exploring for natural gas and oil and drilling and product sales. And so all the things that go with that. So you're going to make some basic assumptions on this assignment. You're trying to determine whether some integration is going on, either forward or backwards, and you're trying to determine, or is this just something that's a routine business activity from a company that does these sorts of things? So here's our basic assumptions that we've got to work with. You're changing the situation to obtain more control, or you're trying to provide a service you cannot provide yourself. And I'll go through some of these examples down in the assignment itself and give you a couple of the answers to get you started. Forward vertical integration. First of all, this is about changing the transaction, the selling proposition itself. You are going to sell to your customers' customers. So you need to think about, what am I really talking about here? Who am I selling to? What is that hierarchy that you are going through to sell something? So if you're selling to your customers' customers instead of selling to your customer, then you've really changed the equation. Think about it. There are different instances here where you've cut out the middleman, so to speak. Maybe you're making a product. You send it to the marketplace, a distributor buys it, and then they turn around and sell it to someone else, the end consumer. Well, if you're doing forward vertical integration, that product would not be sold to the distributor. You'd sell to their customers' customers, which is either the retailer or the end consumer. And you sell to them yourself. You've gone forward. You've changed that transaction. You changed the selling to where you're now selling to the customer's customers. It does give you more control. It changes your business model, but there are advantages to be gotten from that. Now, backward vertical integration is completely different. You're going backwards in the sense that you're looking at your supply or distribution network of players, other companies, individuals, companies, whatever they are, that are providing some sort of services for you. You can't afford or don't have the expertise to do certain things, and you outsource it. You have another company do that for you. Well, if you're performing backwards vertical integration, then you are deciding that, I can perform that service. I can do that thing myself in company. It will give us more control over things. And although we add another layer of activity and expense, in the long run, we probably will save money. We have more control over operations and so forth. That's why you do it. In fact, vertical integration, whether it's forward or backwards, is the way we beat the competition in the marketplace. This is the nuts and bolts of how we do it. How do you get greater market share? How do you beat those big competitors? You do some backwards vertical integration, trying to make yourself more efficient, have more control of your operations, change how things are working for you and so forth in the selling proposition, one or the other. Now, when we look at routine business activities, it depends on the industry and the company. So here, for this purposes of this assignment, we're talking about an energy company. Their business activities are exploring for natural gas and oil, and then drilling and doing product sales. Well, think of some of the things that are routine for a company like that. They're going to have to refine their product. So if they don't own the refinery themselves, they're going to have to contract with another company that owns a refinery and refine their product. If they were to do some backwards vertical integration, at some point they might buy their own refinery or build one, and now they're not having another company provide the service. They're doing it themselves. They've gone backwards into their supply chain, distribution chain, into their strategic alliances, whatever it is, and they're replacing it with efforts they're doing themselves. But there are those routine things that you do. What would you expect to do? Well, if you didn't own a refinery, yes, you might contract with another company to lease a refinery from them. If you don't own a fleet of trucks and you're drilling for oil and you have all these barrels of oil, you have to hire a trucking company to get them to wherever the oil goes, whoever you're selling it to. And you might look at that and go, okay, that's a routine business activity. We're selling our oil to another, we're contracting with a transportation company to transport our product, our natural gas, our propane, whatever it is. So those would be routine sorts of activities, looking for a lease, drilling for oil, contracting with other companies to do products and services, things like that are all what you would consider routine. Those differ from backwards vertical integration, which is changing the equation and taking over things that were previously contracted from others to do for you. Or it's not the same as going forward vertical integration and changing who you are selling your product to. So let's just take a look. What I'm asking you to do in this assignment is tell me, is this a routine business activity? Is it backwards vertical integration, or is it forward? Let's look at the first one, drilling for oil. Okay, the scenario is this is an oil exploration company. Are we changing the scenario in a backwards vertical integration way, or are we changing it forward? If we're just drilling for oil, to me, that is a clear thing. That is a routine business operation, routine business activity right here that this type of company right here would do. It makes sense. So the correct answer for that one is RBA, routine business activity. We're drilling for oil. That's what we do. But let's look at a couple others. Let me just grab one at random here. Number 7, sending oil to a refinery owned by another organization to be refined. That's actually the example I just used, because you don't own a refinery. Okay, you're sending oil to another refinery to be refined. Are you changing anything? Are you taking over a service that was previously done for you? You're not. You're engaging them to do a service. So this would be considered, again, routine business activity. Number 11, let's look at this one. Building an oil and natural gas storage facility of your own, because you've been leasing those resources. So if you've been leasing those resources, you have to assume you've contracted with another company to let you store your gas and your oil in their big tanks. You don't own those tanks. You don't own that storage facility, but you're leasing the operations of it. And then you decide to build one. What is that, backwards or forward integration, or is it routine? Well, it's not routine if you build one. And it says here you've been leasing those resources. Therefore, you're going backwards. That's backwards vertical integration, and so forth. We don't see as many instances where we go forward and change the equation that way, where we're selling to our customers' customers. And there's only a couple of those in here. So I'll leave it to you to figure those out. But I think the examples will help you. And hopefully this will make a much better assignment for you. If you've already turned it in and you realize that you weren't thinking in those terms, go ahead and resubmit, replace that file with a new one. I won't grade them for a couple of days. Or if you run into a problem with that somehow, just shoot it to me in an email, no problem. But I want you to do well on this, because I think the concept is really an important one. And the authors really don't talk about it much, a couple of sentences. And the way I look at it, this is really important concept, because this is telling us, how do we really beat the competition? How do we gain that market share? You do these sorts of things. This is how you get it. This is how you do it. Okay, folks, I hope that's helpful to you. I'll talk to you again soon.